Okay, here we go. Welcome, Stephan.
Yes, welcome everyone. Yes, we are still in the first section of the text, which is referring to the topics of the gradual path. And we have covered topics like precious human rebirth, death, refuge, karma, and the last stanzas were on renunciation. And now we are going to move into the last section of this part, which is about Bodhichitta, the awakening heart. And I would like to start with a quote from Ken MacLeod in his commentary around of the first 9, which is still in the topic of renunciation. And in this quote, I think he refers to one of the really crucial skills to develop in meditation, the skill of allowing or acceptance. So in our first meditation, I want to emphasize this point. And he says, life is tough. So that's something to pause. Yeah? Life is tough. This is one of the crucial insights in the development of renunciation, the first noble truth. And maybe for some people that sounds a bit depressing, but actually there can be a huge relief in a recognition and an acceptance that it is difficult for all of us. We all struggle. And if you connect with the other people here in this meeting, you know, some of them you know, some of them you just see their face and their name. But what is sure that all of us, we struggle. We experience challenges. We have been hurt. We constantly don't get what we want, and we often get what we don't want. So the recognition of that and the acceptance of that is also such an important foundation for genuine compassion. It is one of the foundations of cultivating bodhicitta, the awakened heart, to recognize this basic struggle which comes with being human, comes with the body. So life is tough, and I think it's good to sometimes hear it said in different ways. Yeah? So different words speak differently to us. So life is tough, and it's not your fault. It's not that with the right parents and with the right education and with the right method, with the right marriage, that life wouldn't be tough. Life is tough, and it will continue to be so. Maybe it's more precise to say unawakened life is tough. Yeah. So there is a bit of we are all in this together. And genuine compassion rests very much on our willingness and capacity to open to this true fact of life, as the Buddha says it in the teachings on the Four Noble Truths. Life is tough for everyone. So if we right now kind of reach out to each other and acknowledging this, wow, now you are here in your journey, in your difficult journey. And when we connect in that way from heart to heart, it makes really sense to be kind to each other on this difficult journey. Then he continues. Life is tough, but when we see and accept what is actually happening, even if it is very difficult or painful, mind and body relax. This is something to really explore in your own experience. One of the most important and supportive gestures in meditation. When we see, so meaning recognizing, oh, this is a difficult moment for me. Well, this is a difficult period of my life. It's difficult. I'm struggling. And breathing into that. Or if we are together with another person, before we get into the fixing mode, into the giving advice mode, to dare to feel your own feelings, your response to the suffering of another person, and to give that person the space to feel difficult feelings. This is one of the most precious gifts we can give to another person, that pause of acknowledging, yes, there's suffering, there's pain, life is difficult, and I'm here with you. And I am willing to be here. I'm willing to touch whatever comes up, whatever it is. It is such an important pause to offer to yourself and others. And not to be afraid of difficult feelings. Increasing our capacity to be lovingly present. When you see and accept what is actually happening. So accept, that's something really, wow, what does that mean? To allow, to accept, to find a yes to this basic fact of life. So when we see and accept what is actually happening, even if it is very difficult or painful, mind and body relax. This is really one of the fundamental Buddhist insights, that we suffer because we resist what is. And less resistance, less suffering. Not necessarily less pain, but less suffering. And again, that's something to explore yourself. with the difficult situation you are in right now. And you are in a difficult situation, right? I mean, it's just not working out. Things, people. And we don't need to be too ambitious. Yeah. So like 100% acceptance, but 20% acceptance, 30% acceptance, meaning 30% less suffering. It's already a success when our response to a certain situation, either our own suffering or the suffering around us, if our response to that doesn't make it worse than it is, that's already a success in our practice. And what we discover when we allow our feelings, what we start slowly to discover is that they are not dangerous. That we are perfectly equipped as human beings to feel all our feelings. They are energy. They come and go. They pass through. There is also this, we all probably have heard it, what you resist persists. Yeah. And this is such a precious sentence, easily said, but to explore that in our experience, that when we give space, a loving space to our own feelings and the feelings of other people, that they move through more quickly. And when we resist, when we distract ourselves, when we try to run away, when we are judgmental, when we are fearful towards our feelings or the feelings of other people, they linger around longer. So much so that they kind of install themselves in our body, in our subtle energy body. Our subtle energy body is full of unfelt feelings. And it's quite common for people who go deeper into meditation that in that relaxation, these unfelt feelings, they emerge. Very common experience in retreat, that you meet unfelt feelings of the past, grief, which you have not completely stepped into, rejection, hurt. It's all there. And from a Buddhist point of view, even death is no escape. So unfelt feelings, unfelt experience, they travel with us. At one point, we have to feel them with wisdom, the wisdom of realizing emptiness and unconditional love. There is an exquisite quality that comes from just experience what arises completely. Experiencing what arises completely. Such a beautiful meditation instruction. With no separation between awareness and experience. That's a bit, we have to dive into that sentence later, what that means, no separation between awareness and experience. In the verses around the nature of mind and the nature of appearance, the nature of experience. So I would just like to sit quietly for you with this instruction. this guideline. And yeah, as you now do, you adjust your posture, you take your seat. And as always, we take this seat as a practitioner with the confidence that awake awareness is already here. Unconditioned love is already here. Buddha nature is already here. The Lama is already here. The ultimate Lama is already here. So we sit with the confidence that even if we don't experience it right now, we have actually everything available in this moment to be complete, to be whole, to be in love with what is, that is available to us in this moment. And this posture of sitting down, the support of the earth, and with the chest open, and with the ruthless willingness to experience whatever you experience in this moment. It's a kind of commitment, this posture. And if you like, you can close your eyes. That might make it easier to connect with your inner life. And then you allow this shift from the fixing, doing, controlling, manipulating, trying to get somewhere, shifting here to being here in this moment, which is all you have. This is also a shift from the head into the body. A shift which makes it possible for you to emphasize the stream of thinking less. So you shift into the exploration of what is being here without referring to thoughts. Thoughts continue to arise, but you're not referring to them. Being here is happening even if you don't comment it. Then you can take your breath as an ally. Gently and effortlessly bringing the flow of the in and out breath somewhat into the foreground. But awareness stays open. And then there can be a sense that with each in-breath, you're sliding with your awareness, with your attention into the body, into the trunk of your body. Maybe you deepen your breath for a few minutes without it becoming effortful. And then with the out breath, you follow the out breath into space, into letting go. And you just notice what is there, what do you bring with you into this moment? befriending your own energy. And we can appreciate that we are doing this together, breathing together in this virtual temple of our meeting. And with the in-breath, embracing, touching gently, holding softly. And then with the out-breath, the possibility of some relief in your belly and your shoulders, in your face. And if you get entangled into the radio station of the narrative self, the inner dialogue, that's not a problem, but there's the possibility then to emphasize the aliveness, the spacious aliveness in your body, the breath, present moment awareness. So unhooking from the stream of thinking. And exploring here-ness without referring to thoughts. How deep is your yes to this moment? This is what I feel. This is what is happening. Yes. And softening and opening. And returning. Resting. Could you allow yourself to find a place of rest? in the midst of your experience as it is. Relaxing the grasping, relaxing the fixing, controlling, manipulating. With breath and awareness, welcoming as best as you can. If there's resistance, that is also allowed. So the yes, which we are relaxing into, includes the no. So the yes we're relaxing into is not just the opposite of no, it's bigger than yes and no. It goes beyond yes and no, this yes. Present moment awareness. Past is recognized as existing only in thoughts. The future is recognized as only existing in thoughts. Even the I, the me, the little I, the little me is recognized as only existing in thoughts. You're safe right now. You can relax. There's nothing you need to do, nothing you need to figure out. Just being yourself, which is happening effortlessly. This moment is just happening. Rest. Just rest. And for our support and inspiration, we can reach out in our heart to all people who are right now, just like us, sitting in the presence of the divine, or sitting in the presence of Buddha, awakeness. And into this effortless beingness, we invite the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Lama Zopa Rinpoche, other masters, the Buddha, Tara, so that the space, the temple in which we're resting, is imbued, is filled with the light of essence love. Just like bathing in the sun. Bathing in the morning sun after a night of fear, a night of being cold. we feel the loving gaze of the Buddha, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa, bathing with our whole body. So you give yourself the permission to feel infinitely loved as you are. Being infinitely held. And whatever arises, you love that, or whatever arises is already being loved. And also notice the processes, the conditioning, the parts of you who might at this moment sabotage a sense of peace, a sense of being in love and being loved. And just allow them to be there as well. That's why we are here, to heal, to grow, to heal and to grow out of whatever prevents us to be beneficial for others, whatever prevents us to embody the deep love we all carry in our heart. Being here with a vision of bringing our potential of wisdom and love into our life, into our relationships. We are here because our heart wants to awaken and shine. That's its nature. Yes, and then if you have your eyes closed, you take your time to open your eyes and feeling the aftermath of this meditation. So part of your awareness is still resting in the body. So we are coming now to verse 10 and 11. Bodhichitta. And tomorrow we will look into the practice of Tonglen. And today I just want to reflect a bit or feel into bodhicitta. And I would like to encourage you, especially if you have received teachings on bodhicitta, to again just be curious about it. So what is bodhicitta in my life? What is the experience of bodhicitta? How does bodhicitta is embodied within me? How do I feel about bodhicitta? What does it mean for me? And to keep it a bit, also a bit as a mystery, kind of not trying to grasp it conceptually, but approach bodhicitta more from your heart, from your intuition. And I like to think of bodhicitta as a jewel, the wish-fulfilling jewel, it's also called. So if you are familiar with the iconography of Shenrezig, for example, forearm Shenrezig, he has his hands folded in the refuge mudra in front of his heart, and in the palm of the hand, he holds the jewel of bodhicitta. So bodhicitta has many facets, and today I would like to touch some of these facets of this jewel. So one of the facets of bodhicitta definitely is an innate yearning to be of service. So if you feel into that, an innate longing to benefit, to make the place where you live a better place. And maybe you can recognize that that yearning or longing has been there, maybe even as a child. I mean, I don't have children myself, but I have been always close to my niece, the daughter of my sister. And when she was 4 years old, she stopped to eat meat. And the only thing what she said about that was, I love all animals, I can't eat them. And so that kind of goodness, that kind of inborn goodness, which according to the Mahayana tradition is part of our nature. Also, if you think about why did you study what you study, or why did you learn what you learned? And sometimes that wish for making a difference, for helping others, gets kind of lost. You know, we get caught up in, I mean, we might get through periods in our life where we think going for work is about making money. But that's not actually probably why we started in the first place. So there is that sometimes this notion in the Mahayana teachings that bodhicitta is something which we develop or cultivate or train in. But I like also the notion that it is already here and it is already kind of wanting to emerge, wanting to shine in our life. And then sometimes we lose it, yes. But I think a good place to explore bodhicitta is to look for where that urge is already in your life. So the many moments in your life when you smiled at someone, when you enjoyed to make a meal for someone, when you enjoy to work together in a group for a good purpose. Such a joy in these activities. It's also beautiful to get to know that aspect of bodhicitta by just looking around in daily life. So not only feeling that and enjoying and appreciating that there's this goodness in you, but also open our eyes and seeing, wow, it's all around. People look after each other. I'm not trying to ignore the many moments where that is not happening. It's just kind of a focus on like a different focus of our attention. So one way to get to know bodhicitta is to become a bodhicitta detective in daily life. I mean, bodhicitta is much more than, you know, wanting to help others, but it's definitely one aspect of this jewel. And to make it a bit of an awareness practice, a mindfulness practice in daily life, where when do people help each other? And this can be a bus driver, this can be someone opening the door, that can be sitting somewhere and observing a mother looking after her child, doing a walk, seeing someone with his dog, her dog, and seeing how they relate with each other. So there's so much there. Also, when tragedy happens, so it's one part to find a way of living in a world of catastrophe. But there's also that with each tragedy, there's also goodness, there's also help. Some people, they don't run away from catastrophe, from accidents, they run towards it. Isn't that amazing? That people have the capacity to sacrifice their lives for strangers. And you have that. You have that capacity. It's inborn. It's part of the genetic heritage of humanity. So in daily life, allow yourself to be touched by this. Get familiar with the movements of your heart. So another part of that jewel of bodhicitta is the vision of wholeness within the Mahayana tradition, the vision of Buddha nature, you know, the vision of Shenrezig, Tara, yeah, symbolic archetypes of an embodiment of that longing to serve. It's like a compass, and it is helping us to have confidence and trust that the capacity in our heart to love is immense, it's infinite. Another facet of that jewel is our wish to heal whatever prevents us to be of help. and to dedicate our life to that healing process. So if we rest, make a leap of faith that the sun of bodhicitta is already shining within our being, then to acknowledge our wounds, our traumas, that which keeps us back, which makes us self-centered, protective. So the conditioning of self-importance, of a narcissistic preoccupation with what about me? What do I get out of this situation for me? What do I get out of this relationship for me? How can this situation serve me? And to acknowledge that me is born from confusion. It's born from a distortion of reality, and it's born from our pain. It's born from things which happened in our life, happened to us, which makes us contract, which makes us suspicious, which makes us disconnecting from others. Sometimes people try to develop bodhicitta from the conceptual side, like training your thoughts, may all beings be happy, and so on, like from the bottom down, and no, from up here to kind of down. And maybe it's more helpful to approach it more from the inside out. So meaning acknowledging that as part of our bodhicitta project, it's so necessary to heal the wounds in your heart. And if you want to heal the wounds in your heart, you need to touch them. And it's possible that with that healing process, that bodhicitta will naturally start, the sun in your heart will naturally start to shine. So it's more like removing the clouds. And cultivating a strong intention to do that. I think there was one question. No, it's just a text. So if you have a question or a comment, you can just interrupt. We are not so many. So let's look at the text, verse 10. every being has cared for you as your mother. If they all suffer for time without end, how can you be happy? To free beings without limit, give rise to awakening mind. This is the practice of a Bodhisattva. So every being has cared for you as your mother. Those of you who have received teachings on Bodhicitta, you know this is one of the lineages or practices to cultivate Bodhicitta. As part of that is to reflect on the kindness. In my experience, it's quite difficult for people to use the reflection on the kindness of the mother in other cultures. It seemed to be more easy for people to connect with that. But many of us still have some healing work to do in the relationship of our mother. And particular, there's also psychopathic mothers or some of our mothers, and I don't, of course, I don't know your experience with that, but some of our mothers, they were not necessarily a good model for mother love. Yeah. So what I like to do here in this contemplation is to reflect on the kindness of the people in your life who have been kind to you, who have been supportive to you, who helped you, from whom you learned something, who gave you something. Yes, and probably your father and your mother were part of that, hopefully. But if we just take a few moments right now, to look back at your life and acknowledge the kindness and care, the gifts, the support, the friendship. Yeah, I would emphasize friendship here a lot. Yeah, or friendship, such a beautiful expression and experience in our life, to experience friendship. So if we look into our life, so many people who are our friends, all the teachers we have had in school, in our education, strangers, so many strangers, and particularly if you traveled, you probably have had experience of people helping you, supporting you, inviting you in. And whatever your professional skills are right now, all the things you know, all the things you learned in your life, we have received from others. So I like to always kind of broaden that out, the kindness. on my SoundCloud profile, I have a guided meditation, which is called The Kindness of Others. Maybe you would like to listen to that, where I guide to, we don't have the time now, but I guide to a reflection like that, looking back into your life and calling upon all these people. Now, so imagine if, we are 17 people now, if we would all now call these people who have been helping us, who have been teaching us, who cooked for us, who took care of us when we were sick, when we would, call them into our temple, it would be really, really crowded, incredibly crowded. So and then you rest in that experience. You rest in that experience of feeling that care. And you notice what happens. What does it do with you? It's so important in the developing in this process of embodying bodhicitta, that we come to a place of where we feel full, where we feel we can give because we also received. Not in the sense of, so now you have to repay, but just as the natural response from an experience of being loved, from an experience of being cared for, from an experience of fullness. Now, some people, they, if we experience a lot of, if we have experience in our life, a lot of rejection, a lot of not being held, a lot of not being seen who we are, a lot of not being loved for just being. Yeah. So if we have not received a lot of that, then we have that hole in our heart. It's like an empty cup. And we try in our life to fill that empty cup through others, through relationship. In the Jungian teachings, this is called the narcissistic wound. And it's called the narcissistic wound because this wound of not being held with unconditional love, or so we deserved it, is called narcissistic because it leads then to that self-preoccupation. What about me? What about me? Well, trying to fill that hole. So when we have that empty cup, and I think since we all grew up in this insane culture, where our worth depends on how productive we are, how beautiful we are, how and not just not love for just being yourself. So when we come with this empty heart cup to the teachings of bodhicitta, what we might try to do is to kind of, again, on that surface, like, yeah, I should be more kind, I should be more compassionate, everyone has been my mother, in previous lives, and I sacrificed my life for myself, and I should love them, and nothing happens. It doesn't reach. It's just words. It doesn't come from the inside. And then when we, through inner work, either traditionally or body work, psychotherapy, so when we do this inner work of healing, self-compassion, starting to feel comfortable on their own skin, becoming less a junkie of needing to feel loved by others, wanting to have the admiration or the approval. So what we then probably start to notice when that healing starts to happen, that the goodness which is behind that and which is untouched by the narcissistic wound, our Buddha nature it can't be touched by any kind of trauma. And I'm using trauma here in a kind of broad sense, not like this, shock trauma or something, like just any kind of experience of rejection. So probably what we start, so our bodhicitta, the innate bodhicitta, is untouched by our wounds, but it's covered up. If they all suffer for time without end, how can you be happy? Somehow I don't find this sentence very helpful. So it's difficult for us because we are all on this shame, or more or less, some of us at least, we are on this shame and guilt trip. So a sentence like, how can you be happy, can just trigger that kind of feelings. So I don't deserve to be happy, or I shouldn't be happy, and how can I be happy when others are not happy? So it's always good when you read that kind of sentences in this text, where you feel something in you gets fearful or contracted, or you don't want to look at it, or you feel bad about yourself. So if you get teachings, or you read this text and you feel like more than a sinner than before, and you are not empowered in your goodness, so then it's good to pause and to reflect deeper, to kind of maybe even looking into the Tibetan, and so what is actually being said here, and what's the essence of this? Because of course the Dharma wants to empower us. It's talking about our goodness. It is encouraging us. It's a method of growth and liberation, and not kind of feeling more bad about ourselves. So let's go on. I mean, I'm just inviting you to reflect on this sentence. And also always be curious when you read a sentence like that. Be also curious about, what does this do with you? What is happening for you? What is your response? So a Dharma text or a teaching, also now, I mean, this is a kind of teaching. I mean, I'm talking, so, and you're listening. So part of working with teachings and text is to have a part of your awareness to your responses to it. How does it make you feel? And to work with that, to be curious about that. To use a teaching like this and a text like this for self-inquiry, for getting to know yourself. Yeah. I'm a bit tired today. I had a conflict yesterday night with my friend. So my mind is not so creative. I just can't sleep when I have an unresolved conflict in my life. So so my creativity right now is limited. Yeah, but I'm sure tomorrow I can say something or share something about this sentence. Right now I just feel it's not helpful, but I can't say exactly what it is. Yeah. So then, to free beings without limit. Yeah, so that's the that I mean, such an important, I talked about this. One important aspect of the Bodhichitta jewel is to ease the suffering in the world, yeah? To make a difference. With the vision of Avalokiteshvara and Tara as a capacity, as a compass, with that crazy vision that actually we all have that capacity to free all beings without limit. Why? Because they are empty. So that's something we have to look into tomorrow, how bodhicitta and wisdom need to come together. Yeah? And if you have the book, it's a beautiful description of bodhicitta in this book, in the beginning of the commentary, where Ken McCloy puts these two things, the wish for everyone to be free of suffering and the wisdom of realizing the emptiness of suffering, how that comes together and how that is needed. Give rise to awakening mind. I like the word awakening. Some people translate bodhi as enlightenment. But so awakening expresses for me more that sense that it is a process, and that that we are not talking about like the big boom at the end of the path, like complete Buddhahood, which is like beyond our concepts. And so awakening is more like something ongoing, and there's different levels of awakening and depth of awakening. So it really is for me a more helpful word than enlightenment. Yeah, so is there any questions?
So Stephan, there's one question in the chat, and it is it perhaps an invitation to not be limited by that which you did not get?
Is that referring to this verse? If they all suffer from time without end, how can you be happy? Or, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Jennifer. Can you say something about it, Jennifer?
Yeah, I also got stuck on it and had a reaction, and then I thought, if all your mothers who love you suffer for time without beginning, so if this is just an idea, if all of your mothers did not give you all of that which you would like to have had, how can you be happy? And then it looks like the answer might be to free, limitless, sentient beings give rise to awakening mind, that there's another way. So instead of harping on what you didn't get, or not coming from I guess if you look at it initially, I was like coming from a place of guilt, like if she's not happy, how can I be happy? And then I said, no, that doesn't fit.
No, that is not meant there.
No. But if all of them were suffering, then how can you possibly be full, be complete? I don't know. So
yes.
But the answer would be to give rise to awakening mind, to transcend whatever that stuckness is.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Maybe any other reflection on this? I think it has a bit this you find that sometimes in I think in the Tibetan tradition, kind of using shame and guilt as a tool, as a pedagogical tool, which is not working for us. Like the thing with threatening us with hell and
Yeah, Stephan.
Yes.
My problem with that phrase, which also is problematic to me, is that it means that I will never, ever be happy. Because even if I were to be awakened, even if I were awakened right now, there are millions of people in the world that will be suffering. So it's almost the conclusion is that, well, okay, I cannot be happy. Yeah. And at the same time, the second part that I don't like about that phrase is that if I'm unhappy, how can I help others? I have to find some kind of basic happiness within me in order to help others.
Yeah. Yes. I think to the first part of what you said, the answer there is wisdom. I mean, what is lacking in when you experience how can I be happy when other people suffer? So that question reflects a lack of wisdom. you know, because that sentence is being said from the assumption that there is an I here and there is a separate others which is suffering, and that the I is real, the other is real, and suffering is real. So now the conclusion is not to kind of then say, oh, the I does not exist, suffering does not exist, and other people don't exist, so I don't care. So that would be then the other extreme, yeah? And that makes it so that's like the middle way, you know, to go the middle way between the extreme of nihilism and the extreme of eternalism or realism. Yeah. And I have not figured that out, but it seems that His Holiness the Dalai Lama figured it out, because he is in touch with, I mean, we can't imagine how much he is in touch with the suffering of his people. I mean, he's feeling it, you know, and still he is so happy. He's so radiant. He's so vital. Yeah. So there is a way to come to that place, but yeah, I'm on the path towards that. Yeah, so that's also a good reflection here. A better word than happy, yeah, or to reflect on what is meant with happiness here. Yeah? What kind of happiness? It seems that for a bodhisattva, suffering is increasing the happiness of a bodhisattva. But the happiness of a bodhisattva is not has nothing to do with hedonistic happiness. It's not like the kind of happiness which you know, what we in a common sense call happiness. We are happy when the weather is good and when we have nice company and we listen to some nice music. Like happiness, which depends on wonderful, on good sense experiences. So, yeah. So it's a good point to reflect on that. It's
Can I add something, Stephan?
yes.
Thank you. Well, you know, contemplating on that line as well, I was thinking, well, the text calls 37 practices of Bodhisattvas, not 37 humans. You know, so I tried to look at it from, you know, how would I look at it with that mindset, kind of, you know, and, you know, if you think about all the beings that have loved me, they have all been part of my existence for endless times.
Yeah.
So there is no division between me and them at an ultimate level. We are one. And so I was thinking in terms of the difference between the goal as being an arhat or the goal as being a bodhisattva, whereas an arhat, I find, okay, I found nirvana, I'm happy now, I can, you know, I can be content. Might point to the bodhisattva, which is, you know, extending that. I won't be content until everyone else is too.
Yeah.
Because that's me too. They're not just something out there. They are in me, living in my existence, and part of the same, the mind field, the Buddhahood, whatever, you know. I can't really be truly endlessly happy before endlessly happy is everybody.
Yeah. Yes. And it seems that so yeah, you said it very good. This it's also me. Yeah. So and that project is the most meaningful and vitalizing and passionate thing one can do. So maybe you're not happy in the sense that there's no pain because you're in the touch with pain, but there is that like deeper meaning, which is maybe also one way to describe happiness. Yes. So it's really helpful to reflect on a verse like this, just like we did, yeah, either together with others, but also for yourself. And as I mentioned in the beginning of these teachings, that this is a text which is worth to return to. Yeah, so if you would read this line, I mean, you can see the potential of exploration just in this line. We just touched some of the points. So if you would reflect upon this in a year, maybe when your understanding of emptiness has changed, then that reflection would lead us into a different place. Okay, so we dedicate whatever goodness arose from this meeting to the awakening of everyone. Maybe you would like to include some of your dear ones who are in crisis right now. Then we can also connect with our teachers, His Holiness, Lama Zopa, all their projects. So may this meeting be a drop of bodhicitta, falling into the ocean of bodhicitta, and with that lasting forever, for the benefit of everyone. And may the goodness of this being, of this meeting, may people everywhere look after each other, also the animals. Okay, see you tomorrow, and we will look into Tonglen tomorrow. It's my favorite practice, so it's really precious to have an opportunity again to get some reminders and inspiration for the practice of Tonglen. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Stephan.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody. See you all
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Bye. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.